Hi, Topher. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Could we start? Could you kind of explain who you play and maybe a little bit about the story? Put us in some kind of context here.
Sure. Well, I play Mike Smith, who is a researcher for Mary Mapes, who is a producer for Dan Rather. And they got embroiled in a really interesting scandal involving the U.S. president, President Bush Jr. And Mike is of this team that was put together. It also includes Dennis Quaid and Elizabeth Moss. Is kind of the most radical or the most. He's all the way on one end of the spectrum. He has some very strong beliefs about what's wrong with media in 2005 when it takes place.
Did you meet Mike at all?
You know, I didn't meet Mike. I had played. Most of the time, you're playing a fictional person in a film, but. You know, sometimes you play someone that is still alive and you can contact. I did that once on a film, and I had a bad experience. It wasn't that I didn't like the person. It was just that it kind of colored how I was looking at the script. And because Mike is someone that that people aren't familiar with on a national level, like Dan, it was not exactly necessary for me to meet him, and I thought maybe it's better for me to just talk to Mary and Dan, who were both on set, talk to them about Mike and kind of get his essence more than trying to do an imitation of him. And then later we emailed together. Cool. And I kind of apologized that he'll forever be linked to the kid from that 70s show.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Why are these events kind of relevant now? Why should we care about this story, do you think?
Well, something that's interesting is that the movie is about a really specific thing that happened in America to Dan Rather and his team. But it's endemic of something that's happening all over the world with news, which is, and Bob's character talks about this at one point, which is news used to operate at a loss. It used to just be reporting exactly what had happened. Then, really through 60 Minutes and some other shows, people started to realize that they could make money through the news. And then the question the movie kind of poses is, can you tell the truth if certain stories get better ratings? Mm-hmm. And what does that mean to reporting the news?
And that kind of conflict between the commercial world and reporting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very important to society that things are being reported on in a society so that the rest of the society understands the context of what's happening. And you know, we're in a new place with the internet, which even though the internet was in its earlier days when the film takes place, it plays a big role in what happened. And there's cable news and there's news comedy programs, and it's a lot different than when Dan Rather took over for Walter Cronkite back in the day.
Back in the day. You would have grown up as a young actor watching Robert Redford. Mm-hmm. And there you are playing opposite him.
Well, Bob, who asked me to call him Bob, and that alone is like winning an award or something. Like, I thought, this is worth the whole thing right here. Just, like, call me Bob. And I said, you got it, Bob. He's the prototype. He's the guy who did this the best, in my opinion, which is All the President's Men, which is an incredible detective story and is also something that meant a lot to America and to journalism. And to be doing scenes with him, I mean, in a kind of journalistic thriller, I was not only honored, I was like freaked out.
It kind of fits in with the characters that you play as well, because Bob as Dan Rather and right. Your guy, you know, I think at one point in the film says to him, you know, you're the reason I got into this.
Yeah, there was very little acting in my scenes with Bob because I was both nervous, as my character was, and then also Mike kind of gets to say, you're the reason I got into this in the first place. And I remember, I loved movies, but in 10th grade, I think, our history teacher was teaching us about Watergate and showed us All the President's Men, and I went like, oh, I don't just love movies, I love like cinema, you know, I love these great, then I started getting the Parallax View and 3 Days of the Condor, and so to do a kind of paranoid journalistic thing and then do it with Bob.
Yeah, with Bob.
Was, I tried to just savor the flavor every day because I don't know how it could get much better than that, you know.
Completely. And we should mention Cate, of course.
Well, yes. It was an embarrassment of riches for someone like me to, Cate is probably the greatest actor of our time, and to now know her personally is amazing, and just to watch someone like that work. You hope when you're working with living legends, right? And they're like a couple in this movie, that there's some like osmosis or something where it rubs off on you, and somehow you get a little bit of their thing. I mean, these actors, and watching them in their process and just how good they are. I was honored to be there.
Just finally, Topher, it's James's first film as a director, which I found remarkable.
Yeah, me too.
And it's a very assured touch. What was he like to work with?
Well, James has written other great films in this vein that I love, like Zodiac. And I thought, you are taking a little bit of a gamble, probably not with actors like this, but when you work with someone it's their first time, and I guess I was in the first scene that he ever directed. It was a scene with me and Cate. And I thought he was unbelievable. He knew, I think it comes from, he could have maybe directed a movie. He's been so successful for so long. He could have directed a movie years ago and probably kind of was on other sets and watched people. And so it did not feel like it was his first film.
Certainly didn't.
But I know other directors are going to hate that this is his first film. It's unbelievable.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Cheers.
Cool. All right, thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Are you doing another one?
No.
You